My interpretation of space was a starship. I made some starships for my grandchildren. It wasn't my idea. It was Kai's idea, German fellow in Germany. And he had a separate piece for spinning it. The starship that I have here is really a top. And it has a balloon light on it. And it has my grandson's name on it. So I have it Starship, and then I have his name on it. And how I made it is available through the club site. You can either email me for it, or I think Barry or Tom might be putting it on the website. Just another thing that came up, some lady gave me a half egg, and it's has a magnet on it. And she said, I guess she kind of suckered me into this, but she said, "Oh, I can't find these half eggs anymore. Can't buy them anywhere." So what I did is they took made paper joint, made an egg, and made some half eggs for her. And so she got about a dozen eggs. So it's 24 half eggs for her magnets. Thank you.
All right, Dave, do you want to show your top spinning or?
Well, no, I don't.
Okay.
I don't have a surface to show you the spinning.
Okay.
But there it is.
Barry, does
Okay.
the light look like the light went all the way through? Does the light go all the way through to the bottom?
No. In fact, this light is not actually glued in yet. So all it is a balloon light, and I can't get it out right now. But all it is a balloon light, and you can get the balloon lights at Hobby Lobby, I believe. And like I said, there's a place you can get the instructions on how I did it. Kai's idea was presented last fall, and his had a separate mechanism for spinning the top. On mine, you just grab it and spin it. Thanks again.
What did you use to apply the colors on the bands, the yellow and red? That marker? Or?
For the yellow, I just used a Tombow marker. And for the red, I used a Sharpie. Real simple to do. This is maple, and I wanted to keep it light, so I used the water-based wipe-on poly for it. The balloon lights that you can buy at Hobby Lobby are flat on the bottom. In the instructions, I suggest that you play around with drilling some holes in some scrap paper or scrap wood and figure out how you want to set the balloon light in and how deep you want to make it. And there you go.
Thank you, Dave.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, some time ago, let me clear this. Come on, get rid of that. Okay. I'm going to try to put this. This is something I made quite a while ago. It's one of the largest pizza cutters I've ever seen. And it's very nice. This is, I think, cherry. And the interesting thing about it is that the handle unscrews. If I can unscrew it that much. Okay, come on. Okay. And in the top is a small piece of threaded rod, and then you can wash this piece in the dishwasher without damaging the wood. So I made these 4 or 5 years ago. I made a whole bunch of them for my family and my extended family. So
where do you buy the metal part?
You can get them at Woodcrafters. Most of the places that sell pens and small turning items like that. They go by the name of chefware.
That particular one he has comes from Woodturners.
Yeah, it did.
Seem bigger than what I'm used to.
Little piece.
And they're very easy to make. It's basically just a little bit of spindle work. Drill a hole in the handle. Some of them have an actual hole in there to just glue in. But I like the kind that come apart in the middle because that means you can wash them in the dishwasher. You shouldn't wash anything with a wooden handle in a dishwasher. It does not react well. That's it.
You're muted, I think.
That's unusual for me to be muted, but yeah. I lost 2 months at the lathe by rebuilding our kitchen in our cottage, our retirement cottage. And in the process, I took out a 20 or 30-year-old kitchen, but I sawed all the junk pieces off and kept the drawer fronts. And I took the drawer fronts, arranged them. This was a dark stained oak, and so I didn't know what kind of oak I would find. And here's what I found. I glued them together, backs to back. So I had 1.5 inches thick, and it was like 13 inches down to 1.25 inches and about 12 inches. It was kind of fun. I copied off of Doug's profile, although he tells me I didn't do it quite as good as I should have. He's a little more, a little more precise than I am, but I was happy and I was glad I had a good one to do. The nice thing for me was a little bit of the surprise of seeing how the grain arranged itself. So I was kind of pleased. That was a little bit happenstance, but yep, that's it.
I noticed your bottom layer was 90 degrees to your top layer.
Yes, sir. Yes, intentionally so.
Okay,
Are you afraid it's going to separate?
not separate, no, but as it'll bow.
I
the-
love, yes, you're absolutely right. I love bowed wood, so maybe that's it. But I did it mostly for the design, for just to see the grain that way.
Yeah.
Where do you think the name Bowman comes from?
Actually, it comes from
I
Bauman.
thought archery.
No, it comes from Bauman, the German word for builder. So it's just as appropriate. So.
Well, your ancestor would probably say it's going to bow on you. My neighbor gave me a crotch piece of wood, crotch piece of cherry, and it was wet turned in like 3 stages, thinner each time. And I'm not real familiar with just how dry it has to be. And I thought it was all done. But in just like 3 days since I turned it, it no longer sits truly flat. So I guess it's still losing moisture, and I'll give it another, I'll get it back off him after I give it to him. I made it for the guy who gave me the wood.
Now it's art.
What's that?
It's art.
Yeah. You can give it back to me in a year and I can put it on a vacuum chuck and redo the foot. Who else? As Mike Campbell slowly forward.
Hey, working on my amble. Hi, I'm Mike. This was a fun project. It's turned wet, thin, fairly thin anyway. And then I wrapped it with shrink wrap as tight as I could get it. I didn't have rubber bands big enough to give constant pressure. So when the shrink wrap lost its stretch, that's how much it warped.
Is that what made it oval?
Yeah. Yeah. It was actually throwing water as it was
I was
turning.
wondering how it got that
Yeah.
much of a ratio.
I had a piece of ornamental cherry that worked almost this much all on its own without doing
Wanna hold it
anything.
up? I'll zoom in on it. So it's nice wood. What is that wood?
Uh,
Something.
there's a argument about that. The guy who cut the tree down says it's Norway maple, but everybody else says, boy, that looks like red maple. I think it looks like red maple, but I ain't gonna argue. The type of maple. It's not finished, but I had to have something for show and tell. My plan is to actually do some piercing around the top edge. And I needed something for carving club, so that's what I brought. There you go. Turn another one, I could make a football.
Yeah. I want to say the amount of bowling is much more exaggerated in person here than it looked like on camera. I don't know how to best capture that, but
Black shirt and I'll
it's
do-
probably a 2-inch difference in the width versus the length.
Pistachio shoot.
That's the same technique they use to make the cowboy hats. Mickelson makes cowboy hats that way. He turns them green and then he puts rubber bands on them that
Oh, for the brim.
make them oval. He turns the brim up and he also makes the hat itself oval so it'll fit on your head.
Oh, I thought that amount of ovalness, if you will, was natural to the shrimping.
No, he uses rubber bands and a frame to do it. So similar technique.
So I tried to do the astronomy galaxy thing and it just didn't work. So instead I decided to make a couple boxes because I haven't made boxes. So this was just a piece of cherry burl that I had, big chunk of it. And it was fun, had the big wormholes. So I used some epoxy to fill it. And then a piece of spalted maple for the handle thingy.
What is the grain direction on the body? Is that like spindle work or?
I
Grain
did it
going
as
that
a
way?
bowl because yeah, it was, I don't know. I just cut off a hunk, threw it on the lathe and turned it.
I was remembering what that hunk looked like, the key here.
Yeah, well, this would have been the outside, the bark side, I guess.
Oh, okay.
And I guess that would be in towards the center. That's what I'm guessing. I'm not certain. It was just a chunk of wood. I threw it on there. But it was fun. And then the local wood shop had a bunch of sapele cutoffs. And so I played with that and I had fun with it and took it home to show my wife. And she said, oh, cool. That's our new M&M and M&M container for on the dining table. So that's what's going
Somebody
in
ate the
there.
M&M.
Yeah, the M&Ms are gone. I had-
Earlier we had some in there.
yeah, there were a couple in there when I brought it, but I didn't eat dinner yet.
You said a local wood shop. What do you mean by that?
Well, right up the street from my house, there's it's called Pioneer Woodcraft, and they do a lot of moldings and other architectural stuff. So they use a lot of sapele, poplar. You never know what they're doing. Whatever a builder needs made for them. They do like columns and all kinds of stuff. Light posts and that kind of stuff. So they have their bin that they sit out by the front along the road with all their cut off scrap junk, and people come by, firewood, fire starters, and when they set it out, I look through to see if there's anything decent. And I've gotten some really nice pieces of scrap
Get your
walnut.
friends in the future.
Yeah.
Where do you live, Rick?
I brought a bunch of sapele along.
I already saw some.
So, yeah. And then I had a piece of sycamore that I wanted to try doing a weird live edge thing, and that's what I ended up with. It was a little longer, a little wider than it was long, and just something different. So I don't know, maybe put bananas in it or something. I don't know.
M&Ms.
It's not tall enough for M&Ms.
I'll figure it out.
So, but that was fun. But my astronomy thing it was a failure. So,
I thought you were gonna hold up a black hole.
well, that's basically what it was. quite a challenge.
I have a question. Where's Sapele come from? Is it imported?
Yeah, it's South America. It's a Brazil. A lot of it was from Brazil. Originally, it's a mahogany species. Out down that way.
Is that Sapilia very water resistant? Is that what it's used for?
Yeah, it's very similar to like teak. As far as that goes, it's hard like mahogany, and it's resistant like mahogany, especially with water. It's a great outdoor wood.
I think it's hard like rosewood. A lot of guitar builders build it instead of rosewood, which is hard to get anymore.
It's softer than rosewood though.
It's like Brazilian,
Yeah.
but it's harder than mahogany.
Yeah.
Andre has a piece raw here.
Yeah, it's really, huh?
No, that's the
That's
Sapele.
appealing.
Yeah.
Right there. Does it has the same?
Looks kind of like satin wood on the.
It's got chatoyance.
Yeah.
It has like that sheen on it. It's really
Yeah.
beautiful. Chatoyance.
Yeah.
I did work with one piece of high mountain mahogany burl that I got from one guy once, like cut off, and that was the most beautiful piece of wood I ever worked with. It's hard to get. There's only 2 legal mahogany dealers in the world left. And he got it from them, and it was just fantastic. And it took water really great. I'm just wondering if this is the dust on it, like the other wood you mentioned before. I heard that one of my friends, a parent, yes, tremendous allergy for that dust.
Oh, yeah.
Could
A lot of
be.
people are very,
Other chopping woods.
Yeah.
Okay.
It,
That-
it,
that
does- it
particular
does have a
subset,
distinct smell
Smell.
when you're turning it. I work on, I do mostly exterior wood restoration is what my business is, and we service about 15 Sapele decks every year. And so every once in a while, when I have to replace a board, I have extras. And
He was looking at teak. That's what his
Yeah.
problem was.
it's similar to teak with the
It looks beautiful when it's finished.
Hey, who's gonna,
I am.
John?
Let me first say about the wood that shows up here is considered a donation to the club. And if you take wood, you need to leave $1 for a piece. And if you take something really precious, you need to leave $5. And it goes into the club treasury, of course. I'm gonna, let me see, these are the 2 things that I made this month, or I made a lot of things, but this is a new way of making magnet boxes for me. For a long time, I've been making magnet boxes, so the magnets are in the lid facing magnets in the rim of the box, and it makes a fat box. And after 7 years of doing it, I had the revelation that I could put the magnets this way instead of this way. And so there's 3 in there, 3 pairs of magnets, and the lid just stays on. It's soft. It's soft, stays on. So this one here, I wanted to see if I could make it so the top would bounce up and down, but it doesn't. But it is a 2, so the box is this big, or else it's that big. I'm going to do, the reason I brought them tonight is I'm going to do magnet boxes as the demo next month. And we'll have some real wood chips flying off the lathe, some real mystery wood turning, because I have some blanks. I used to glue them up from three-part blanks with the magnets embedded in the wood, and then you part between the magnets. So I have some 3-part blanks that I glued up to a couple of years ago. I think I know where the magnets are in the wood, and if I'm right, we'll part in between the magnets, and if I'm wrong, we'll part right into the magnets. So we'll do that next month. Sparks, yeah. And I'm going to hand the ball over to Ziegler and Tom White because he found Tom's photographs.
These I've done over the last year and a half or so ago that I'm fairly happy with them, but they're sort of in the spacey motif that with a black background and the stars and everything like that. The black background is gesso, and the rest of it is gold paint, and I think it's the Nick Agar gold covering. And some of the depressions are made with cup burrs and little burrs on a Dremel-like tool, but it's a high-speed tool. I did a demo for our club in the Susquehanna Woodturners last November for that. And it's fairly successful to me. I did like a series of about 7 of them over the last year and a half. I just thought they're kind of interesting. Any questions on that? The one with the gold center is my wife's favorite. She's in the other room now, but she won't let me take that one out of the house. But the other one with the Spiron, I started to do at the demo in November, and I finished it up at home. So I'll be showing that to them. I think some of the guys have not seen that yet. We'll see that, but that's what those are for.
How did
Any
you do
questions?
that spiral?
What's this?
How did you get that spiral to look as good as it does? Would you just kind of?
I just fudged it. Basically, I just did pencil marks on the. What I do is make the impressions and drill out the little holes and use the cup burrs before the paint is put on. And I basically did all the spiral and stuff with pencil. Made the little divots and the cup burrs and the little holes and stuff like that. Painted everything with the black several times actually, because it's a little hard to get into the little holes. And once it was dry, I used a finger to just spread on it was the chroma gilt, Nick Agar chroma gilt. The Saxon gold is the color of it. And I did it all later. And actually, these pictures look pretty good, I thought. But anyhow, that's my little contribution there. And thanks for finding it for me.
Very tough.
Tom, your spots, as paint, or what are your spots made?
The silver spots, you mean?
Yes.
Those are cup burrs that you kind of drill into the wood, and it throws up a bunch of smoke, and then I painted it with silver paint. Okay. Each one with silver paint, went over it like that. The one with the gold center, I did some carving texturing on that. You can see a little bit of that around the rim. So that one is the only one that has any carving. The rest of them are basically drilled out and painted. Went around. Some of them have a little bit of a texture to them. Some are flat on the black, little silver, little tiny paintbrush to make it look like it's kind of spacey. The one urn, the tall urn that was on the previous picture, I tried to put actual constellations on that one. There are several constellations. If you can come back to that picture, you can't see all sides of it, but on the just on the left edge of that, you can see one of the constellations. That's the Great Bear.
Nice.
But there are several constellations around that. I put that in the showcase down at the Pennsylvania Farm Show, and I was kind of wondering if anybody would notice it, but they didn't. But that's the only one that's got any sort of a true to life constellation on it. The rest of them are just random.
What's the black you said you used? What's the black?
That's gesso, Gesso. Gesso is basically a paint base. It comes in black and white and gray. It's an acrylic base. It's got it's matte textured. It was developed to take oil and oil paints for artist oils. It would spread the whole artist's canvas with gesso and paint on it.
I didn't realize there was black. I have a daughter-in-law who's a painter, and she uses gesso, but I've always seen only white. I didn't know they had a black. So
yeah. You can get it black, white, and gray. And I suspect, since it's water-based acrylic, you could tint it if you wanted.
And what did you do inside the? I assume that's a hollow form there in the middle.
Yeah. It's basically just random dots inside to
okay,
make it look spacey. It was kind of funny because that little one on the left and the tall one in the back were sitting on my workbench for about a year. I turned them to a point where I thought, I don't want to do anything more to these things. And then I sort of thought of this idea of making these things. And the little one was sort of the guinea pig. I thought, hey, I think I'll do this to this guy. And I looked at it when it was done. I thought, gee, I might be onto something here. So I went on, I did the big one and then a couple more of them. So I was pretty happy with them, but I did a series of 7. I might do another one, but that's my little submission. Thank you.
Very nice.
So I have a few pieces here. First of all, this is, you've all have seen the spinning ball things, which is not necessarily new, but what I actually did this time was made a different base for it, just to try and see if I could get it to float a little bit more. Nice, fun. One of the nice things about this is if you're at your desk, you know how it's, well, I don't know about you guys, none of you are ADD or anything like that, right? So this is like this little spins they used to for kids. For the monthly challenge, I have 2 plates here. How can I put this?
Hold them still.
You hold still, we'll
Yeah,
find
okay.
it.
These plates were made from a piece of curly maple that I found in Bob Hollister's wood sawmill. It's a piece that was sitting there for about 25 years or so, and so it's just full of wormholes. This one here, I actually filled the wormholes up with epoxy, with blue epoxy on it. And this one here I left empty, but I looked at them and I felt that it really looked like the night sky, and so that's my contribution for the night sky effect. Aurora Borealis, there you go.
Did you do them flat intentionally or was the wood thin?
I did them flat intentionally. It was, in fact, if I'm not mistaken, I think what I did is I actually ended up, yeah, it might have been twice as thick, and I think I actually did this and then made 2 out of a single piece of wood to try and get down. It's dusty as all get out to turn, but anyway, I think that's what I did. Now that I remember. And once you have 1 inch in it starting with, and then going to ½ inch finish, is a little bit hard to get anything more than just flat. You know what?
You hold that on with a vacuum chuck?
Pardon?
Is that a vacuum chuck that holds that on?
Oh yeah, right. Okay, so the vacuum chuck can hold this one, but I've just let me point out to you as you go that that's not really going to hold on the vacuum chuck. Sorry, I thought you were joking.
Your phone's flashlight behind it.
Yeah. Anyway, this one actually you can see through it, but it did hold on with. You're doing okay. The final one is I just did this today, and that is this is my flying saucer, actually, another space or unidentified flying object. But what it is I've it's a piece of cherry that I had sitting around, and this is an aluminum piece. I'm aluminum metallurgist. I got some sheet when I quit work, and so I've got this. It's about 40 thou or something along that area, bright sheet, and then spun to fit. And I put the base on here because I could glue it on, but I wanted something to mechanically hold it in place. And I'm becoming, as I'm looking at it, I'm sort of agreeing with Thomas that it would probably look better if the bottom was black as opposed to as a piece of maple I just grabbed something to glue it with. But if it was black, it would probably float off the surface a lot better and sort of space a bit better. So since I can claim it's not officially done yet.
You want to hold it still and show the back?
This?
Yeah. So when you spin the aluminum, is that on the lathe?
Yes. Yeah.
And obviously you're shaping it in some way, right? With some kind of tool, but not a wood tool.
No. Well, it's like a wood tool, but it's a smooth finish tool. There's spinning tools which are effectively just highly polished steel. you hold it up against it and it's pressing it against the side. The tools I have are, I discovered that I got them used and they've been sitting around in somebody's garage for a while. They're sort of rusty. You want to really polish them up really high, and maybe I can do some demonstration. The other thing is that I also learned is that it's really important to get this little shape started first, because there's a possibility that that metal can slip out from between the wood and go flying across the shop.
It's like odd job in the.
And yeah, well, and my comment, if you think a piece of flying, spinning wood is frightening, think about a 40,000 piece of aluminum as a disc that's going across the shop.
It's odd job.
Yeah, I was laying there and said, yeah, I'm still here. So that's the flying saucer, pardon? So, yeah, anyway, my challenge.
Doug,
Yeah.
how do you get that center? Your disc before you start to turn. You've got to be absolutely centered to turn it.
Well, actually, you don't have to be absolutely centered.
Okay.
But to be honest, what I did is I centered it, turned it, and then what I did is took the tool and just cut it off here with a, and you can use your chisel or anything like that, because if you take a look at typical machining tools, high-speed steel is actually a machine or a carbide if you want to.
He will cut it.
Yeah. Well, steel will cut it too. Anything will cut it. I just did it, and I just did it this way. And I have a tool for turning over the lip and everything. That's later down the road, and also I left a space here. Getting it perfect is later down the road. This was just my first foray into spinning, and that's why the challenge from another club was to do something that you'd never done in wood turning, and so I've never spun anything like that before.
Okay, this past weekend, I got some time to spend at the lathe, and when I get a weekend to turn, then I kind of go into production mode and turn everything that I can. So what we have here are a lot of tiny bowls that are from John of Bradford Pear, one after the other. There are a lot of little blanks. I have 3 more left. I like to work them in series and vary the shape as I go. So if you look at them, you'll see the different shapes. The larger bowl, I took a core and that fits there. This little triangular piece here actually popped out and now is proud of the surface. But the color and the marking reminds me of picture jasper. I also did some madrone burl. Took a core of this one as well. That's the piece that sits in there. The nice thing about coring is you save the piece of wood in the center for another bowl. The problem is you still have a single bowl to turn once you turn the main bowl. So I decided that when I take a core of these little bowls, I either throw the piece away or turn it right away. So that's what this madrone burl is, an arboreal burl, which is different than a root burl, which you can see the colors. It's deep, dark red. Root burl is pink. I also, I learned tonight that Dave Blyle made some off-center bottle stoppers. And I have a chuck, an off-center chuck that I can use, but I actually turned these on my regular wood chuck. And what I did was I turned the spear at the base, and once it's grabbed in the chuck, I can orient the piece of wood in several different directions and make them twisted. My goal was to get a stack of round spheres, but I learned that you have to do something different in between, and this is the breakthrough. This little plate in the middle helps you tilt one way or the other, but it also helps you separate one sphere from the next sphere. So that's my weekend.
What kind of wood is the dark red?
The dark red is madrone burl from the Pacific Northwest.
Okay.